everyone, and welcome to the CHANGEMAKERS podcast, where we chat with interesting and engaging individuals here and far about change, making change, living change in their own lives, how they've experienced unimaginable change, and innovative ways people uplift the lives of others. We chat about triumphs over tragedies, mindset matters, and how we live out our life's purpose inspirationally. So please join us to be inspired and empowered to be the change you want to see in this world. You know, we can all be change makers in our lives. Here's to the change you're about to bring forth. I want to welcome Pam and give her an opportunity to tell us about herself and her professional journey and what makes her heart sing professionally. So welcome to you so much, Pam. I'm so glad.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. This is awesome. It's wonderful to join you on this podcast, and hello to everybody out there. It's great to not see you, but to hopefully you're going to listen very closely today, and what Kimberly says and what my journey has been. I started out in a small town called Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I ended up going to a university, which was at the time 2.5 hours driving, because the speed limit was much lower back then, north from where I lived in Syracuse, New York. And I attended Syracuse University. I graduated in a class in 1989. And since then, I got my master's degree, got my law degree. I worked for many years in marketing and having clients all over the country. And then I went back to law school at night, and I clerked. I was a judicial law clerk for a year, and then I still am a lawyer and practiced law for 10 years. But I was never truly happy in the law. And now I realize I probably wasn't 100% happy even in what I did before then. And this university called Syracuse always had a place in my heart and in my life forever. And it's a very special place, and it's not just rooting for sports teams and rooting for the orange and rooting for basketball, lacrosse, and football. It's not about that. If somebody asked me what the basketball scores are, who we played last and who we play next, I'd say I don't know. A little bit embarrassed to say that, but I'd say I don't know necessarily. I do follow them, but not as closely as some people think. I love the university. I love the spirit. I love the orange spirit. I love the people. And I loved volunteering for the university, so much so that I was an alumni club president for 7 years while I practiced law. And then I was asked to be on the National Alumni Board of Directors, which is the Syracuse University Alumni Association Board of Directors. And I joined them, and I quickly became a member of their executive leadership team, and then was the chair of the philanthropy group within the SUAA, and then later on became a vice president of the Syracuse University Alumni Association Board of Directors, which I loved. But I wasn't able to do that very long because I happened to be in a meeting where I currently work, which is the Joseph I. Lubin House in New York City. It's a gorgeous home on the Upper East Side. We're half a block off of Central Park, right across from the Pierre Hotel. It's an amazing neighborhood. And I was in a meeting here for this board, and my current boss, Sue Ballard, she announced this position that they were going to have it, hire an executive director for alumni engagement here in New York City. And after the meeting was over, I went and I walked around Central Park, and I walked and walked and walked and thought a lot, and called my husband and said, I'm going to apply for this job. Like, I don't know if I have the requisite experience, but I'm applied for the job. And now I've been here for close to, in my 4th year. and I absolutely love it, and it is my passion. It makes, as Kimberly said, it makes my heart sing every single day. It's not a job to me anymore. I mean, I know this is my job and I need it, to pay my mortgage and do all those things, but it's so much more than that to me. It truly is my life. So I love being here.
It just makes my heart sing to hear the love and the passion and the purpose with which you speak about your position now. And we've been together through this whole path. Pam and I met as colleagues, and then we worked together as clients. She's a client, and then we became very good friends. And I was with her through various law firm jobs, not happy. And we knew that there was something else, but we didn't know what that something else was. And so share with us a little bit of, Pam, if you can recall, you are highly accomplished, highly degreed, you had a background in marketing, so you know how to promote yourself and have the right messaging. You had all the right ingredients, but yet you had not yet landed at this dream or this career or job of your dreams. Tell us a little bit about some of the challenging times along that journey.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of challenging times along the way. It was definitely not a straight path. If you look at my resume, you look at my LinkedIn profile, there's some people that have this direct line, and you look at and I know a lot of you listening, you look at them and say, why can't that be me? Why can't I have this direct line? I love what I do from the minute that I started. And, it's not like that for the majority of people. There's really very few that have that direct path. And many people who you might think are very happy, they may not be,
One of the things that I've always heard and read, which I think is so true, is that we get sold this false belief that it's one wrong after another wrong, the next big title, the next big title, the next big salary, and we go up this ladder. But in actuality, if we look at our careers, it's more like a jungle gym, going from one thing to another, and then as we progress, through the ages, that all of that can come together, and then that's where you end up in your dream passion.
That's right. I mean, it's really, if you put all of my, as you said, like my degrees, my background in a blender, and blended them all together, and what I really truly love to do, which is engage with other people, is what this job is. But I had no idea that that's what it was. And nobody really could tell me that. I mean, you've helped me tremendously. But it's really, at some point, something just happened. And that was being in that meeting that one day in April of 2016 that led me to, here. And, there's a lot of issues, challenges, hurdles along the way, a lot of tears shed, a lot of why me? I hear, I have my undergraduate, I went to the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications at Syracuse, arguably the very finest communication school in the country. I have a dual degree from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs, #1 in its disciplines in many, polls in the country. And I have a law degree from Seton Hall. I have a master's in corporate and public communications from Seton Hall. You would think that, I would know what to do. I'm a communicator and I'm a marketer, and you'd think I would know the direction, but law broke me down. Law messed me up in the sense of, once you go to law school, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to be a lawyer. You got to practice law. You got to be a law clerk. You got to do this. You got to do that. And no, you don't. I mean, you could get other degrees and they can help you in what you want to do. You do not have to be stuck in a career that you do not want to be in. It is foolish. It is not, it is not beneficial. And I remember being at the law firms I worked with. I worked for one for the majority of the time. And that law firm, I would say, but I want to do all these other things. And they're like, yeah, but that's not what we do. And being in a law firm, it was always very adversarial. Like your colleagues would be adversarial with each other. They're nice to a certain extent. I mean, I worked with a lot of lovely people, but they're trained to be adversarial. And that was not me. I was like, wanted to be happy, wanted to talk to people, and wanted to make people happy. And I found myself, and I did a lot of bankruptcies and foreclosures, and, almost becoming friends with people that I was working on their bankruptcies, because I wanted them to have a better life. I didn't want to just handle their bankruptcy, but I wanted them to come out better than they were before. And still to this day, like, some of those clients will stop me. They'll see me in Costco or like somewhere, shopping or something, or out with my son somewhere, and they really appreciated that. But unfortunately, in the practice of law, there's a thing called billable hours, and being nice and calling people and things like that doesn't really help your billable hour requirement. It's a great thing, but really in the practice of law and working in a law firm, it's, I read a letter, point 2. I did something else. It was point 4. I wrote a letter to a client, whatever it is. And it's all that billable time. And I found that my time doing that was not ever fulfilled. So that was a huge challenge. It was a challenge when my law firm that I worked with for a long time, we lost our largest client. That was a client that I worked on, and I held the relationship with that client. But I didn't bring it into the firm, but everybody at that, with that client, they still love me, and I'm still in communication with them. And I would think that a lot of those lawyers that are at that law firm are not in communication with them anymore. I'm in communication with them, not always to get their business, but because I like them as people.
Right.
And I still want to have that relationship with them. And so it's, that was a huge challenge. And Kimberly, you helped me a lot through that. And in 4 weeks, I had 6 offers, because I know how to do that. And with your help, I was able to do that. And I took the wrong job. I couldn't figure out like what I wanted to do. And for me, I had a very young son now he's 9. And, I wanted a job that was close to my house. That's not a good enough reason to take a job. It isn't. And now I commute 4 hours a day, 2 hours each way to this amazing office in New York. And you know what? It's a blink of an eye. It's nothing, because I love what I do. Right. And all of those challenges, they don't matter anymore, because I love what I do. And, I think that, when you find that role, all of those challenges and all of the tears that were shed, they kind of, you don't remember them as much. You remember now what you're doing. And I got to remember that the path that I took to get here, and that path started at Syracuse University, and now I'm back at Syracuse University. And there's some things I'd change in my life, but if I knew that I wouldn't have gotten here by doing all those other things, then, I had to do all those things to lead me to sitting in this office that I'm in right now, and into my future with this university.
That is so incredibly powerful. And I'm sure because of who you are, you recognize and have gratitude around the fact that had it not been for some of those rocky roads, that you would have not been prepared uniquely for where you are right now.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have. There are things now that I do in my job because everybody says, well, you're a former lawyer. I'm not a former lawyer. I am a lawyer. I worked hard when I'm staring in my office at all this paper that I have on my wall. Yeah, it looks impressive, but you know what? It was hard for me. Law school was very hard for me. It was not easy. I wasn't, I wasn't the top student in law school. And so,
oh, by the way, you went at night after working a full-time job.
yep, I went at night. I got off planes. I got off trains. Was traveling to see clients, and then I went there. But that doesn't matter. I could have been a top student if I had more time, but I didn't. And but the thing is, to now when I just came back from working on an agreement for something for Syracuse. I'm not part of their legal team, but it's important. Those negotiations, the mediation skills, to try to figure out what's going to be best for the university and for what I oversee, which is the New York metropolitan region for Syracuse University, is, those skills are so important. They're important in communicating to make sure you say the right things at the right time. They're important when, we go through challenges at the university and my communications background, both from Seton Hall and certainly from the Newhouse School, in knowing how to approach things. I mean, that all, and my experiences all led up to this, so that the experiences, the education, they were all important. But it's not, again, what I said, it's certainly not a direct path, but I needed those tools to get here. I can't say that if I didn't practice law that I would have gotten this job. I don't know. Somehow it helped. Many of my colleagues in my department, I mean, they have, an undergraduate degree. Many have an undergraduate and a master's degree. But I think this is what was meant for me. For whatever reason, this is what was meant for me to get here. And now I realize within the university and other universities, there's many people who work in advancement, alumni engagement, corporate and foundation relations. Even our chancellor of Syracuse University are lawyers. So it gives you a skill set that you can use in other ways.
Right. So I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away at the metamorphosis and the journey because I've seen it on standing and cheering you on, and so much. And we've talked about change makers and what does change makers mean and who are change makers. And so I'm just curious, what does the word change maker mean to you?
Well, a change maker, I think for me, it's an exciting word, because what is it when you break it down? Which I have a 9-year-old, so he's in 4th grade. And so with complex words, you have to break them down into different pieces. It's a change maker. It's somebody who makes change happen. And here, making change happen for yourself, for your company, for, I'm working in higher ed for my institution that I work for. It's somebody who can vision the future, can say, this is what we want. This is where I or we want to go or want to be. And how am I going to get there? I'm not going to be complacent and be stuck in the past, and stuck in what happened before. I could be still sitting at my desk at a law firm and be, not happy. You make change happen for yourself or for others, depending on how you want to look at it. And I think Kimberly, I think that word is a very simple word to kind of break down and kind of know what it means. And I really like it a lot because of that. It's making change, paving your own path, paving your own future, I think that's what it means, quite simply. And that's how I would explain it to Connor, my son. So the same way.
So, and I agree, and that's why, as I shared with you, we had a lot of brainstorming sessions over, what to name and call this new program that we're going to be rolling out, change makers, and because people making changes, and of course that could be at the very micro level of ourselves personally, professionally, but how do we help and shepherd people to make change, even globally. The young lady, Greta Thunberg, over in Sweden, good Lord, is she a change maker? Look at this young lady, what she's done and how she's brought her unique brilliance to this world platform. I mean, so I think it has that word. My intention was for it to encapsulate change as far and wide as one can imagine, or as narrow and personal into our everyday lives.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it makes you like excited about what's moving forward. Like, so for some people, change is very scary, right? I mean, they don't, but unless you change something, you can't move forward, whether that's, whether that's moving to a new location, or like for me, I commute into New York City I live in New Jersey, and making that change. It's many times it's for the, it's for the better. You have to look at it. You have to look at it that way. And I think it's a very positive word, that will, propel somebody to make those positive changes in their life and get what they want out of their life. So when they look back at their life, they don't have any regrets, that they're doing what they want. And, for many, everybody's like, oh, a job's not a be all end all. Well, you spend the majority of your time at work. You spend the majority of your time doing work 5 days a week, even if it's just 40 hours a week, and you don't have overnight travel and you don't have other things like that. I mean, it's a lot of time, without taking a commute and other things. And if you're miserable at the job, the career that you're in, it's, you really need to be a change maker. You need to make something happen that's going to make you want to, as you said before, make your heart sing. And for me, that's been working here and living an orange life. And that's our color. That's Syracuse's color. So it's orange. And it's the happiest of colors, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it's finding what that's going to mean for you.
Exactly. I think that's wonderful. So let me just ask you one question, because I know you're going to give me a wonderful answer. What advice or insights would you offer women who know that there's rumblings inside of them that they're not living their best life, or they're not living their full potential? They may feel that, but they don't know what to do with that.
Kimberly, I think that they really need to sit quiet too for a little bit.
Yeah.
And think about what they want. And I'm going to go back to a day that I was in your Women in Law Rainmakers group in Philadelphia. And we met at a law firm in Philadelphia. And I walked outside, and it was like it was still cold out. So it was like, around March, like say in the March time frame. And I walked outside, March, April, say, and walked outside, and I was like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go next? And I went to church. I'm a very, spiritual person. I believe in my faith. I happen to be Roman Catholic. And I went to a church that was nearby, and I just sat there and I sat quiet. And I just thought to myself, like, what it is that I want, what do I want? Not what does somebody else want for me, or what other people's expectations are of me in, you know, oh, you went to law school or you have a master's degree or whatever you have, and do other people think you should do. It's what I wanted to do. I still made mistakes after that. I still made mistakes after I thought to myself, and then I talked to you later. I still made mistakes, but I think being quiet and thinking about what those things are, and then being energized by other people that are, however somebody's energized, I need to be around other people. Some other folks don't need that as much. It just depends on what you really need to get you going a different direction, is to just take a step back, take a breath. I did not do that when I had those 6 job offers. I did not. I was worried about money. I was worried about how are we going to survive? What are we going to do? I have all these loans to pay off from law school. I have all this other stuff. What am I going to do? And, had I taken the time then, and I learned from those jobs that I was at, but I didn't listen to myself. I think you have to listen to you and what you want to do, not what somebody else wants, but what you want and what's in your heart, and to examine like what your true passions are, and not, and really find them in your own heart, in your own mind, in your own spirit. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck. And you're going to be stuck in a role that you don't want, and life is way too short. And we don't know how long we have on this, beautiful planet that we're on. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And so to live like that, and to live in, in kind of like in misery, it doesn't make anybody else happy, and it certainly doesn't make you happy. So it's really taking a step back, and then how to figure out how to make change happen. It's different for different people, but how to make change happen. And I'm blessed that for me, it was right before my eyes, but I didn't realize it. And I'm blessed that, I had a woman that is now my boss who saw it in me, and I'm forever grateful that, she brought me in for an interview. And because somebody else could have just thrown my resume away.
Right.
And they wouldn't have given it a second thought, and I could still be practicing law somewhere. But somebody gave it. So you need those other people who are going to believe in you, and believe that, you can do what you want to do. Or if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, that you can go out and make the career that you want with your own power, which I know, Kimberly, you've done and done so well, that you're, have made really what you want to do, and moved yourself forward that way.
Yes. I mean, and sometimes I feel like it's a calling. Sometimes when we're in situations, of course, I was in corporate for 23 years. It's not an easy road, particularly when you're in male-dominated industries. You're the only woman in the room. I've dealt with all those things, and am very, very passionate about helping and partnering women who are in similar situations. And there came a time, and there came a point where I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done. I can't live like this. As you said, it was very unfulfilling, frustrating, demoralizing on some levels. And it's like, I know I'm here to do something bigger, better, greater, different, whatever. I wasn't exactly sure. But then I took all of the sum of my experiences and created a business from scratch. And now I'm on to a second business, which is now my beloved CHANGEMAKERS, because I'm so passionate for people to live out their purpose, however they define that. So thank you very, very, very much, Pam, for sharing all of your story and your journey. And, I know that that's just the tip of the iceberg, because I know the story well. But I can't tell you how much I admire you I respect you. I'm in awe of you because, as Pam mentioned, she has a young son, and she's done, if there has ever been the embodiment of Fred Astaire's dance partner of wearing the high heels and doing the dancing and doing it backwards, Grace Kelly, it would be Miss Pam Mulligan.
Oh, isn't that sweet? That's so
What
sweet.
you've done and supported your family and all of that. And so if there's anybody that embodies change maker, it would be you with 3 crowns on top.
Aw.
And so I just have one question remaining that I ask all of our guests, because I love to hear the answer, and that is, if you could give yourself, your younger self, one piece of professional advice, what would that be?
The one piece of professional advice, and it's kind of personal too, is to believe in you and to be independent. I wish that I knew me now when I was, 18 years old or 20, 22 years old, whatever, when you finish high school or college. And when I say that is, I know a lot of young people, they'll get caught up with a relationship, perhaps, having friends and following those friends rather than following and being independent themselves and following themselves, and knowing that if they follow their own heart and their own dreams and what they want and the change that they want in their lives, what they want for their lives, they can make it happen. But they have to make sure that they have the right people around them that are not going to hold them back, and that they're independent enough, to know that. And that's the because if I look at myself back then, I didn't have what I have now. And it takes, and that's why they say there's this thing called wisdom. Well,
Yeah, right.
it takes a little while to get it. So, and I admire a lot of our younger alumni that we have at Syracuse, because, some of them I'm just so impressed with, because they got it all going on far better. And I always picture myself back then. I'm like, wow, look at these kids. Like, they are amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I was like that back then, but it's fine because I'm like that now. And that's what matters. But I think that's be you. Be you.
Be you. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate our listeners. This wraps it up for another episode of Change Makers, how we highlight and showcase people who are making a difference, and that would be Miss Pam Mulligan. And so until next time, keep changing and making your own way. Thank you so much.